What is going on, everyone? We have a very big change coming to Valorant, or should I say changes, as Riot is really taking a step to tackle the usage of abilities in the game and lean more towards the gunplay. Patch 11.08 is probably the single largest nerf update across the board for many agents. And we're talking about nerfing agents in pretty much every single category: initiators, duelists, sentinels, and even controllers. I'll start off with the nerfs that are broad and cover multiple agents first, before moving on to agent-specific ones. Alright, so let's get started. Once patch 11.08 rolls out, all initiators which have signature abilities that recharge will have their timers increase from 40 seconds up to 60 seconds, or 1 minute. So agents like Breach, Sova, KO, and Fade will have to wait 1 full minute before they can cast their rechargeable abilities again. Depending on the pace of how you play around and how the enemy plays, this could mean that you may only be able to use these abilities only one time. Obviously, the slower you play the round, the more time it gives for your ability to recharge so you can use it a second time, but it's not always in your hands, and it also depends on how quick the enemy attacks your site or goes for a retake. But overall, this is quite a big change. Now, the person who dropped these upcoming changes to Valorant is Ariel on X or Twitter, and this person did include Tejo, Sky, and Gecko. I don't know if this was just to have an image of all the initiators, but apparently we may have Tejo salvos and Sky's flashes be rechargeable once again, which honestly I'm okay with. The only agent that doesn't make sense here is Gecko, because his utility is only rechargeable if you retrieve it after using it, and once taken back, the timer is only 10 seconds. And this is for all of his utility except for Mosh, which he can't pick up after using. So I don't know how it's going to affect Gecko exactly, but it may be something like a few seconds longer to pick up his util, or just doubling the timer after he picks them up to 20 seconds, which would fall in line with the other initiators, as Gecko is one of the agents where his util can kind of be spammed, depending on how and where you use it. Overall, this is a pretty big nerf to initiators. I mean, 20 seconds is a long time to add to these abilities to recharge, and if you watch VCT, you can see how pro players tend to use their rechargeable abilities pretty early into the rounds to draw out enemy util or fights, and then just rotate or hold positions until they recharge once again and then continue to hit a site. Now this completely changes that because the timing is a lot different with this 20-second addition to rechargeable abilities that are essential, like Sova's Dart or Fade's Eye. The next broad nerf that we have is also targeted against initiators, and this time it's their ultimates. Agents which have ultimates that cover a large area of the map, so Fade, Breach, and Tejo, will have the size of their ultimates reduced. We don't know exactly by how much it will be reduced yet, but do expect them to get more narrow. And once again, this is quite a big nerf, especially for agents like Breach where his ultimate usually covers an entire site, so we may have to use it more strategically if it no longer does that, and the same goes with Fade. This also will probably remove Tejo's ability to ult an entire section of the map where players pretty much have no escape, like Long on Pearl and A main on Abyss. I think out of all the agent roles in the game, initiators definitely got the biggest nerfs overall. Moving on to sentinels, they also received a huge nerf with their utility cooldown increasing from 45 seconds up to 60 seconds. And this is for utilities that are destroyed, such as Cypher's camera, Chamber's TP, Killjoy's turret, and Vice's flash. I honestly don't think this is as impactful as the nerf on the initiator utilities being increased to 60 seconds, as sentinels do typically use their rechargeable ability one time. Of course, there are many times where it can be used twice, but the impact itself doesn't really match that of an initiator. In addition to increasing the cooldown of the destroyed utility, the health of breakable abilities have also been decreased. So abilities such as a Sage Wall, Deadlock Wall, and a Killjoy turret will all be easier to shoot at and destroy. This is a much more impactful nerf in my opinion, because a lot of the time, Sage and Deadlock Walls can be a big nuisance to break, especially on pistol and save rounds, so this would make them a lot less effective. Okay, so we've gotten through 4 nerfs so far, and pretty much half the agents of the game are already affected by these changes, and these are pretty big nerfs. It's not like your typical 1 or 0.5 second changes to abilities, but these are a lot more aggressive moves against utilities to bring more focus to the shooting aspect of the game. And we're not even done with the nerfs. We also have a couple individual agent nerfs as well. I think of all the individual agents, Yoru has received the biggest nerf in my opinion. Yoru's flash duration has decreased from 2 seconds down to 1.6 seconds, which does include the flash from shooting his clone. And the more important nerf is that when Yoru is in his ultimate, he can no longer flash or set up his clone. And everyone knows that flashing in Yoru's ultimate is one of Yoru's biggest benefits, and using his clone as you come out of the ultimate is also a great way to fake enemies. A really big nerf in my opinion. I know Yoru mains out there will not be happy with this one. However, I do think that this will not affect the pro scene because Yoru's ultimate is mostly used to gain information on sight, rather than simply flashing and trying to go for kills, unless you're Jogamo. Neon is the next agent which has received the change. She can now sprint for a longer duration, however the regeneration of her sprint has been slowed down. The exact numbers for this are not yet confirmed, and I honestly wasn't sure whether to call this a nerf or a buff, so if you are a Neon main watching this, let me know what you think in the comments. Up next, we have another semi-broad nerf to abilities that nearsight you. These are for agents that don't have flashes but they have blinds like Omen and Reyna. In patch 11.08, if you are blinded by these abilities, you will now have your vision increased to 7 meters, rather than the previous 5 meters. It may not seem like a big change, but this will drastically change situations where you hold close corners and get Omen or Reyna blinded, because you will now be able to see them and shoot back, compared to before where they would usually not be visible. And if you are Omen or Reyna trying to clear close angles with your blinds, you do need to be more careful now. Also, I feel bad for Omen mains because the last thing Omen needs is a nerf in this game according to them, and yet he got one. And not just one, but 3. Because Omen has also received 2 other pretty big nerfs. Omen's smoke cooldown has now increased from 30 seconds up to 40 seconds. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Omen is the only controller which has that quick of a recharge time for his smokes, so this nerf is quite big for this agent. And finally, we have Omen's blind receiving some changes as well, with the distance of his blind being decreased so he can no longer blind as far as he can now. However, the speed of his blind has been increased, so it moves a lot faster. In my opinion, I would call this a nerf. I would take the distance over speed easily for his blind. And Omen mains out there are gonna need some time to recover from this one. Cypher is the next agent who will be getting a nerf. Now when you come close to Cypher's spy cam, even if he doesn't use it, you will be able to see it and destroy it. Not sure how close exactly you need to be to the spy cam to see it, so we will have to wait and see. Also, his tripwire duration will also be increased. Again, not too sure by how much yet. The next agent nerf that we have is Viper, a more minor nerf for her this time. Basically, when you touch her smokes, the instant decay that you receive has been reduced from 30 down to 10. Not too bad of a nerf for her honestly, but again, all of this will make a difference in many situations in game. And finally, we have a broad set of abilities that have been buffed. This time we're heading over towards combat stims. So agents which have combat stim abilities, such as Brimstone, KO's ultimate, and Reyna's ultimate, all will receive a faster reload time, an increased fire rate, a change to the weapon draw time, and weapon recovery speed. Obviously, we can see why this buff has been made. It's geared towards the actual gameplay, so I guess it makes sense that Riot wants to make this change. And aside from agents, we do have map changes coming as well to the maps Pearl and Abyss. And yes, Pearl will be in the upcoming rotation along with Split. On Abyss, there's going to be changes made to the sites to allow for players to actually play on the site and hold angles more effectively. Additionally, there's going to be changes made to mid to provide better pathing to the different sites on the map. And we don't yet know the exact changes being made to Pearl except for the ones that you see here. It does look like they're also making it so that you can play post plant on site much easier. But do keep an eye out for those changes as well. And lastly, as if we don't already have a crap ton of changes, we do have some weapons changes coming in patch 11.08. These are minor, so I wouldn't be too worried about them, but just a heads up that they are coming. This is all the info that we have at the moment. There are a few more things that I didn't mention because we just don't have the information as of yet. But let me know what you guys think about what I would call the biggest nerf to happen in Valorant, where pretty much every agent is being affected. I know abilities can be annoying, especially if they're spammed, so let me know if you guys think this is balanced and whether or not you think it will help towards focusing more on the gunplay aspect of the game. Also, shameless plug, but I have set up and launched memberships for this channel if you do want to join and support me and my content. So do check that out if you're interested. Make sure you guys are subscribed for more Valorant updates and lore videos in the future. Don't forget to drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.
One enemy remaining. Back in a flash.